Strictly music, only music, and nothing else. And let's go ahead and get into the newest project from one of the most consistent and hard-working artists in the game. Let's go ahead and talk about Mixtape Pluto by the man better known as Future Hendrix, the Wizard, or Pluto himself. He goes by many aliases and he has been at the top of his class for a very long time. And he's had a smoking hot year and he comes right back with another project. He is known to be one of the most consistent droppers in the game. So let's see what we think about Mixtape Pluto. Let's get right into it. Strictly music, only music, and nothing else. Like, comment, subscribe. What do we think about Mixtape Pluto? Now, track one, Teflon Don. I like the opera style opening on this track. I mean, what can we say? This project is called Mixtape Pluto, and this is him. This is Pluto from the mixtape era in full effect. He switches the flow mid-track, and I like that flow switch a lot. That flow switch is insane. He's saying, hello world, Mixtape Pluto here, and you gotta love it. You gotta love it. And if you know, you know. If you were around for that era, if you followed him from that era, then you know that this is very reminiscent of that. And the beat is no slouch either, as he proclaims Mixtape Pluto at the tail end of his track to gear us up for what we should be expecting going forward. Now, track two, Lil Demon. Future is having his fucking way on this beat. It's almost unfair. This guy is a monster hit maker, and this track is no different. The hook on this is vicious. The beat is knocking as hard as a beat can possibly knock, and Pluto just walks, or better yet, pushes his way through it. It's almost as if he has something to say, and it doesn't matter what beat he has to dismantle to get his point across. Track two, Lil Demon, is flames, and we here at Strictly Music, Only Music, and Nothing Else, we love that type of shit. Track two, Lil Demon, it's up there. Now, track three, Ski, a homage to Young Thug's track, also by the name of Ski. At this point, I fully understand what I got myself into. 3 tracks in, and I get it. I get what this is about to be. This is rare form Future, and we just got to deal with it. 3 tracks in, and he is showing why he has been at the top of his class for well over a decade now. 3 tracks in, and it's 3 bangers. Now, you could open up a project with a banger. You know, you always want to open up a project with a banger. We learned in school that when you write an essay, you want your first paragraph to captivate the audience. But to open up a 17-song project and 3 songs in, it's hit. We gotta buckle up. We gotta buckle up because this is about to be something. It's about to be something a little different. And track 1, Teflon Don. Track 2, Lil Demon, and track 3, hits. Now track 4, Ready to Cook Up. A big fan of this beat. I don't think this track is as strong as the previous 3, but it's still a gigantic track nonetheless. We compare Future to Future. He has his own grading system and his own metric. So by Future standards, this particular track is not up there with the previous 3. But if you compare him to another artist, then this would be, you know, at the top of their list. So we compare Future to Future. He's in his own lane, and we measure him by his own standard. Track 4 is not bad by any stretch of the imagination, but it's just not as good as the 3 smashes that he gave us back to back to open the project. Now track 5, Plutoski. I love the build up to introduce this track with the piano and the violins as well. Future's talking a bit in the background too, so that's dope. That adds to the overall ambience of the opening of this track before the beat falls on top of your head. Like, golly. And he mumbles his way through majority of this track, but he does it in a way where we would rip any other artist for doing this. Any other artist tries to pull this off, with the exception of maybe someone like Kanye, we would rip them open. But Future does it in a way where I know for a fact, like 100%, this will be one of his viral smashes. They're going to clip that. They're going to reuse that sound. They're going to run with that. And a lot of artists can't pull that off. A lot of artists can't mumble through their tracks like that, but Future does it. Future does it. We are looking at the upper echelon of this genre of music, and we have to understand that he will continue to do things throughout this project that other artists have been or will be criticized or ridiculed for. He just has that much skin in the game. And track 5, Plutoski, when you see him simply just mumbling through as if he has this blasé attitude, as if he doesn't really care much about the track, the fact that it's still as good as it is, it shows the seasoning, and it shows the veteran mind and mentality that he has to make these hits. Because track 5, Plutoski, by all standards, it's still a hit. Even though there's not much subject matter he's mumbling through, it's still a hit. Now track 6, Too Fast. Melodic Future comes through on track 6 as he goes deeper in his bag, and I like this one a lot. Big fan of the hook on this as well. I don't think it's as strong as some of the previous tracks, but it's refreshing to switch the subject matter up a little bit and let some air in and let these melodies come through. Still another gigantic track. He's pretty much 6 for 6 at this point, track 4 being the weakest thus far, but even still, that track is gigantic. Like I said, we compare Future to Future. So when you say it's a weaker Future, we're not saying it's a weaker track. We're saying it's weaker by his own standards. And a 5 or a 6 Future may be a 7 or an 8 for some of these other guys. So he's pretty much 6 for 6 as we approach track 7. Now track 7, Ocean. Melodic Pluto continues. He also shows his rapping ability. Solid track, definitely mixtape Pluto vibes. Nothing much to write home about with this track though. Vintage Future, great Future, as to be expected. Though, as I said, we measure Future by his own metric. So by his own standards, this is a pretty regular track. To another artist in this genre, in this lane, that's a different matter entirely. To them, this would be one of the tops of their buildings. This would be up there for them. By Future standards, it's a regular track. Nothing to write home about. That doesn't mean it's bad. And that was track 7, Ocean. Now track 8, Push the Button. Now this is definitely an older Dirty Sprite type of Pluto, so he is paying homage to the project theme with this track here. If you followed and have been following Future, you know this is an older, more classic sounding 56 Nights Dirty Sprite series, monster beast mode type of Future, and we always will accept that from Future. He's built this long discography, this long catalog, so whenever he dives back into that water, we always will support that. We often criticize artists for not returning to their roots, like artists for The Weeknd, for example. We always say, hey, we like The Weeknd on drugs, and we like the druggy Weeknd and the House of Balloons Weeknd, but he went full pop on them. He'll dive back maybe once in a blue moon. Future's a different artist. He'll consistently dive back into that older bag, so he's rewarding the fans that have followed him the whole way, because as you know, this year he had a great year. He gained a lot more fans, a lot more followings, and as he continues to have great years, his fan base grows. So to make a project called Mixtape Pluto and to have those vintage flows and some of those older sounding tracks, you are rewarded as a Future fan because you've been following him for so long, and we can appreciate that reward. Me being someone that has been following Future, I've followed a lot of these guys. I mean, it's STriCTLYMuZik, Onlymuzik, and nothing else. This is how I spend my time. This is how I spend my days. So track 8 is definitely a homage to some of his older work, and we love that. And that was track 8, Press the Button. Now track 9, MJ. Easily my favorite track. Easily my favorite beat so far on the project. Holy shit. This is also the shortest track thus far, and this is in top 1 contention for me personally. This is a mean track, very mean. I had to play it twice on the first go round. This is nasty, 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 nasty work. Track 9, MJ, I believe may be the best song on the entirety of the project, and I'm ready to stamp it. I think it's the best song on the entirety of the project. If you don't agree, get in the comments and let me know what song you think is the best. But I got track 9, MJ, as the best song on the entirety of the project. And that's me. That's a hot take. STriCTLYMuZik, Onlymuzik, and nothing else. I got track 9, MJ, as the best song on the Mixtape Pluto album. Now, track 10, Brazier, joined by Southside on the track. Yeah, he serves Future another beat to dismantle, and Future does just that again. By the standards set by the project so far, especially the previous track before this one, this is a regular track. However, like I said before, and like I stated with track 7, to any other artist, this would be a colossal track. We are comparing Future to Future. He has his own lane. He has his own metric that we measure him to. By his own metric, track 10, Brazier, is not that great compared to some of the other tracks, especially coming off of what I believe to be the best track on the project, track 9, MJ. But it's still a phenomenal track. Don't lose me there. Pay attention. We measure Future by his own metrics, so he can have a weaker track. That doesn't mean it's a bad track. Don't let that go over your head. Now, track 11, South of France. Definitely one of the weaker songs on this project so far. I like the beat switches towards the end. However, this track is still in bottom 3 contention for me, but it's still a solid track. Still a solid track. Definitely bottom 3 on the project, though, for sure. Now, track 12, Surfing a Tsunami. Future finds himself rapping, and he joins himself on his own track with the melodies. This feels like Future featuring Future, and the beat on this is dope as to be expected at this point in the project. Big fan of this beat. I like how he carries the track out, and the beat joins him and helps him carry it out. So track 12 was definitely dope. Track 12 was like Future featuring Future, Surfing a Tsunami, and he doesn't have any features on these, but it's like Future featuring Future on this track, and we can appreciate that. We can appreciate him coming on his own track and showing the diversity where it's like he can rap and then he can join himself with the melodies. He doesn't really need any help. This is a giant in this game, and he's showing that he doesn't need any help. And track 12, Surfing a Tsunami, is the epitome of showing that I don't need any help. Now, track 13, Made My Whole Faint. Big fan of the flow switch on this. Definitely wanted more. I feel like if you add more of that flow switch that we briefly got, we get an entirely different track. Definitely one of the weaker tracks on the project. However, the engineers are working overtime as well as production. They're working overtime as well. That brief flow switch was phenomenal. Would have loved way more of that. A weaker Future may be your favorite artist primed and ready. Like I keep saying, I have to keep saying it. We judge Future by his own metric. But this is definitely a very much weaker version of him. But a weaker Future may be your favorite artist on a better day. And I'm sure you guys understand that. I'm sure you know what I mean. You know, here at STriCTLYMuZik, only music and nothing else. You guys are very intelligent. You guys are well versed in music and music knowledge. So I know you understand what I mean when I say that. Now, track 14, Told My. And we're right back to work. One of the more diverse songs on the project as we get the chopped and screwed 3/6 style that we love to hear. Big ups to production and engineering on this one. This is a dope track, and I'm really feeling that switch up in that chopped and screwed style. And I'm hearing that on a lot of these newer albums. I've heard it on Vultures 2. I've heard it on Lotto's project. I'm hearing it on Future's project. I'm hearing it on a few more that I can't name off the top of my head because there's so many of them in here at STriCTLYMuZik, only music and nothing else. You know that we're constantly working and we're running through these albums and we're grading these albums and we're assessing these albums. This chopped and screwed style has always been present. It's always been a thing. But you see it in places that you may not expect it. I mean, throughout the entirety of Mixtape Pluto, we haven't really heard any of this chopped and screwed. And then as we get to the tail end of the project, they throw it in there. So I'm not entirely sure what's the deal on wanting that in these newer projects. It may just be that the trend has resurfaced. It will always be at the surface in places like Texas and things like that. And Future is from down south. He is from the Atlanta area, so maybe he has a bit of experience there. We have seen this from him before in the past, but we haven't seen the chopped and screwed from him in a while, if I do remember correctly. And I'm seeing it in a lot of artists. So a lot of artists are hitting that 3-6 Mafia button, chopping it and screwing it and slowing the beat down and slurring it. And I'm a big fan of that. Every time I hear it, I never get tired of it, and I'm a big fan of that. Track 14, Told Mine, does that, and I'm a fan of that. Keep it going. Everybody keep it going. That's a phenomenal flow, a phenomenal way to manipulate the beat. I've always been a fan of that. Big ups to engineering, big ups to production on that one. Now, track 15, Oath. I don't know, but some of these shorter tracks just hit different. I don't know why. This track is nasty, and it's the shortest track on the entire project. And the beat is as to be expected. Future is in and out on this one. He comes through, dismantles the track as he raps straight through, no breaks, barely takes any breath. This is a seasoned veteran when it comes to the studio. He goes straight through. And if you're familiar with, I won't say if you are, we should all be familiar with how rapping is done in a studio setting. I mean, it's strictly music, only music and nothing else. We should be well versed on all music knowledge. To rap straight through like that on a minute plus track, I believe this one is a minute 35 seconds. That's dope. That shows the seasoning on some of these artists when they do things like that, and it definitely shows the seasoning on Future. He raps straight through for over a minute and a half, and then he gets up out of there. Business as usual. Track 15, Oath, Fire, Flames. I like that a lot. Now, track 16, Lost My Dog. Subject matter on this is deep as he talks about losing his friend to fentanyl and his own battle with opiates. A slower, more deliberate beat with the woman harmonizing on top of it. Future shows some transparency on this track, but he does it in a way that still works for the overall project. It's a much needed breath of fresh air and diversity, which adds a lot to the overall project. He could have left that out, but he did put it in there, and it definitely adds some light to the room. It opens up a window, it lets some air in, and I can appreciate that. I can also appreciate the transparency of an artist at his caliber, explaining his problem with drug use and losing his friend to the same. And he does it in that melodic way that we can digest, and he does it in that Future Hendrix style flow and cadence that we enjoy. So big ups to that. And that was track 16, Lost My Dog. Now track 17, Say Gang. Say Gang. Track 17, then we carry the project out with the heaviest bass boosted beat of the entire project, and Mixtape Pluto is doing what he does best. This is a good way to end the project. I like this hook as well. The beat is very mean. The bass on this is no joke. And again, we get a brief chopped and screwed switch up towards the end to carry the song out, possibly teasing another song. I feel like that may have been another song that they chopped and screwed at the end. So that could possibly be teasing a deluxe. As we well know, Future is known to drop multiple bodies of work at a single time when he does decide to drop, and I feel like the tail end of track 17, Say Gang, that may have been a chopped and screwed, muddled and mixed up version of another song. If my ears did not deceive me, I believe that was another song at the tail end of that track, and that may be alluding to a deluxe and or another project. It would not be outside of the realm of possibility for Future to be dropping again. Future drops a lot. He drops often, and he is beyond consistent. The last project that he dropped with Metro Boomin, we all know how crazy that project went, and then he dropped another one shortly after that. So no matter how well received the project is, no matter how phenomenal a project is, when we're talking about future projects, we always have to be primed and ready for him to drop again. It could be the best project known to man, and he'll drop on top of it anyway, because that's been his style for a very, very, very long time. So overall, what do we think about Mixtape Pluto? I think Mixtape Pluto is a phenomenal version of Future. I'm going to be giving the entirety of this project a lot more burn. Future has been at the top of his class for well over a decade, and he is still going strong. I seen something recently that said Future's one of the only artists to be in the game as long as he has and to still be in his prime. He dictates and he drives the culture still. And a project like Mixtape Pluto just adds to his overall body of work. I got MJ, track 9, being the best song on the project. I'm going to be playing that song almost religiously. I like it a lot. I wanted to carry out the rest of this warm weather with these nice tracks, and I'm going to be using MJ to kind of lead the charge on that as we get into the holiday season. Let's go ahead and go out with a bang. Mixtape Pluto. I don't believe there's a lot of skips on here. I don't think there's any skips on here. By my standard, I know there are certain tracks to other people that maybe, they skip over. If you're a genuine Future fan, you've been rewarded with this. And we weren't even expecting him to drop after the year that he had, and he still continued to drop. I think Mixtape Pluto is fire. I think he continues to lead his class. And I think he is the head of the class. And to be the head of the class, it's still be in the class. It's insane. We measure an artist like Future against himself. And if we're measuring it by his other bodies of work or his other songs that he dropped this year, Mixtape Pluto still stands in the conversation. I think this is a very thoroughly enjoyable project, and it's going to be a great way to carry out the rest of these warm days. STriCTLYMuZik, only music and nothing else. Mixtape Pluto. Go get that. Go get that. Don't listen to me talk about it and don't go get it. Go fucking get it. This is fire. This is fire. STriCTLYMuZik, only music and nothing else. Like, comment, subscribe. Get in the comments. Let me know your favorite track on here. And let me know how you feel about the metric of measuring Future against himself. Let me know how you feel about that. Is that an accurate way to describe an artist like Future? Do we measure him against himself? He's not the only artist that we measure against himself. But do you think Future is a part of that conversation? STriCTLYMuZik, only music and nothing else. Like, comment, subscribe. Show me love. Get at me. Mixtape Pluto. Go get that.